seriously blown away to bring you this next episode. We had the legend in business and in philanthropy, Jeff Hoffman here, who's an award-winning global entrepreneur, proven CEO, worldwide motivational speaker, best-selling author, Hollywood film producer, producer of a Grammy-winning jazz album, and executive producer of an Emmy award-winning television show. In his career, he's been the founder of several startups. He's been the CEO of both public and private companies. He's served as a senior executive in many capacities. He's been a part of many well-known startups, including Priceline.com, Booking.com, Ubit, and more. I am just so incredibly excited to welcome Jeff to the show today and can't wait for you to listen to this episode. Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Power Up Your Life podcast brought to you by GoBundance Women. I am Kelly Resendez.
And I'm Mandy McAllister.
And we are so excited about our guest today. You know, not only is he a friend, but he's also a mentor to people all over the world. And we are just absolutely blessed and grateful for his time today. So, Jeff, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am good. I'm so excited to get some time to talk to the two of you.
Awesome. Well, we'd love just for our audience to hear just a few minutes about, you know, your amazing journey to where you are today.
So I'll tell you what, the common theme through the whole journey is this: in life, figuring out what you want and then figuring out what you have to do to chart a course to get there, right? Not waiting for the world to give you an invitation because you're never going to get one. Not waiting for the time is right. I hear that from people, right? Well, it's just not the right time. It's never going to be the right time. It's on you to do. So I think that my whole story, and now looking back, is really that, right? One of the key things from the time I was a child, and, you know, growing up out in the desert in Arizona, where no one I knew ever left our town, I wanted to see the world. And that was because of books, right? I was reading books. I was like, wait a minute, there's a giant planet out there and I'm not in any of it. But even back then, my friends would tell me, dude, you have to go get a job. That's what adults do. People kept on saying I said, but I want to see the world. And they're like, you don't have any money. You don't even have a job yet. Someday you'll grow up, you'll get a job, and then you'll have to go to work every day. You're never going to get to go see the world. So even back then, Kelly and Mandy, my thought was, they're right. There's not a job that's going to probably let me fly around the world. Not a job, but what if I create one? Right? Because people kept saying there is no job that exists. I said, fine, I'll just create the reality that I want. And so that is why I wound up starting travel companies. If you want to travel, maybe start a travel company where your actual job is to travel, right? If you love fashion, maybe start a fashion company where your job is designing fashion. And so the common theme for me is that so many people, well, I always tell people this, that your business, your career should be the vehicle that takes you to the life you want to lead, not the obstacle that's preventing you from leading it. Because people always tell me, I can't do the stuff I want to do because I got this job, right? And I was like, why don't you just get or create the job that actually gives you that life? So that's my constant theme. When I've been an entrepreneur my whole life because I've been trying to create the jobs that didn't exist, the ones I wanted. I had an engineering job. I'm a software engineer out of college at a big engineering company. I hated it. I lasted a couple of years and I quit. Not only did I never get to see the world, I never got out of my cubicle except for lunch. And so my very first company was these, when you go to the airport and you check yourself in at one of those self-check-in kiosks, that was the technology for one of our first companies. But part of the job was to travel around the world and sell those kiosks, right? Which was kind of all I ever wanted to do. But we just created that job. And then I've been doing startups ever since. But part of Priceline.com, Booking.com, those are travel companies, right? Where we created companies where our literal job was to go around the world and talk to hotels and airlines. So that's the constant theme. I took a break. I've been doing startups forever. I took a break even out of tech. We did 3 big tech ones, Priceline.com, Booking.com, Ubid.com. But I also took a break because I always wanted to be around creative people. Started a music company, right? We did concerts and tours, and I wanted to learn how stories were told. So we started a film company and made some independent films. The thread is the same. The things you want to learn, the experiences you want to have, and the life you want to be living every day instead of complaining about your job, you have the ability as an entrepreneur to design the job, the company, and the life you wish you always had.
Oh my goodness. Holy moly. That is like so much wisdom right there in just one, journey that you've been on. In the market that we're in right now, like we're really in a very fear-based market, right? We're seeing
Yes.
massive layoffs. We're seeing, a lot of uncertainty. Why do you believe entrepreneurship is so important in today's market?
Well, absolutely great question. And there is there's an overarching question to what you just asked, because people always ask, and I know you and Mandy hear this all the time too, are entrepreneurs born or made? And the answer is both. The made part is what we're doing right now, right? I wish that I had podcasts. I wish I had organizations like GoBundance Women or GoBundance, obviously. I wish I had mentors like you guys back then, because I would have made less mistakes and could have gotten where I was going faster. So that's the made part of entrepreneurship, is we're trying right now, the 3 of us are trying to help people any way we can. But there's a born part, which is the DNA thing. Not everybody has that. It's the DNA of risk. That saying that being an entrepreneur is like jumping off a cliff and trying to build an airplane on the way down, right? That either terrifies you or it thrills you. So you either are or aren't an entrepreneur. But the other part I noticed about the entrepreneurial DNA is eternal optimism. I always believe, I think maybe I just bought into Disney fairy tales, right? Everything's always going to be okay. The princess will always find her prince. I just am an eternal optimist, and I think that's part of entrepreneurship. So to your point, at a time when the world is fear-based and people are afraid and pulling back and everything, entrepreneurs always believe, I can do this, right? They believe anything's possible. So if we didn't have entrepreneurs, we wouldn't have risk takers. And if we didn't have risk takers, change would never be made. Entrepreneurs cause those disruptions and those inflection points in the world where people, if we tell people what we believe, people would say, and you guys have all heard this, are you crazy? That's never going to work. Are you nuts? If anybody listening, if no one's ever said that to you, you're not trying hard enough yet. You have to get a few people that say, you must be nuts. You're crazy. Then know you're on the right path. So that's the importance, Kelly. The entrepreneurs will take the risks and try stuff while everybody else holds back in fear. And if they didn't do that, we'd never get out of bad times, because they're the ones that come up with all the solutions to fix the bad things.
Oh, so good.
I love it. One of the things that I admire most about you, Jeff, is how you look to fix really big problems. I'm here fixing a problem of a small motel. You fix a problem of everyone checking into an airplane for their entire life. Well, one other thing that you spoke about the last time that we had a chance to be together was there is no they. That is the thing I say to myself regularly now, especially in this uncertain climate. To entrepreneurs, tell us a little bit about this idea that you have that there is no they. They should do this.
That came, and I know the 2 of you have heard this story and some of your listeners, but that came from me watching a news report on TV about a home for abused women being closed. And while I was watching this horrible story, these women were being dispersed to the dangerous streets with nowhere to go. I was thinking to myself the same thing all of us think every time you see a problem. When you see something bad in the world, you're like, man, they should help those women, right? They should do something. They should help those women. And that was just a moment, literally at that life-changing moment for me personally, that I thought, wait a minute, if everybody watching this story is saying to themselves they should help those women, who's actually helping the women? because we're all saying they should help them. So that was the epiphany moment in my life where I stood up and I wrote it down on the wall. I wrote down, there is no they. They don't help those women, you do. They're not going to feed those kids. Kelly knows I just came back from Africa, where we've built a bunch of youth homes where we raise abandoned children, right? It was the same philosophy. When I heard about all these kids post-Civil War whose parents were all killed, and these kids were just abandoned in the jungles to die, the easy thing to say is, man, they should do something. They should help those kids. There is no they. It's you, right? So we went over there, rounded up all those kids, and we're raising them. Same thing that we did with those women in that shelter. They, for anybody listening, there is no they. They aren't going to fix the problem that you are talking about. You are. And if it's not you, assume nobody is. And so we just adopted that attitude. And, you know, I would tell all my employees every quarter, let's find someone in our community. This doesn't take, by the way, sometimes it takes no money at all to help people. They need a mentor, right? They need your time, your attention. Sometimes it's children that just need some love. So, because sometimes people say, well, when our company makes money, we can help. It's time, treasure, and talent. Treasure matters, being able to help people with money, but your time and your talent can help people through a lot of things. For example, mentoring other women costs $0, and you have a lot of talent. And if you give some time, you can change somebody's life. So that's the philosophy, is no one else is going to fix it. So pick something where you live and you solve that problem. And it doesn't matter how small, right? My favorite Mother Teresa quote, she said, if you can't feed 100 people, then just go feed one. And I just like that attitude. Go help one woman where you live that's in a bad situation. And if you don't know one, call the local church as an example, because they know the people that come to them that can't even feed their kids, right? It's all the time. I used to see that when I would, and just using church as an example. They said, yes, we have single moms who are doing really poorly and come to us because they can't even feed their kids. You could be mentoring that person and helping her out of that situation.
Oh my goodness. So powerful. So powerful. And I think a lot, I mean, to your point, we sit back and we, might ruminate on our own challenges when we could get out there and really make a big difference in the world on solving some of the big ones. So, Jeff, it's been totally admirable how much you've created in the world in terms of just giving back. But there are people that are listening that are they're not at that place yet. They're they have a small business, maybe they want to scale, but they have a deep desire to do, to build something similar. What are just a few ideas or concepts that you would give them to really scaling their business? Because you are masterful at that.
Yeah. So, and there is a relationship there, right? You two have heard me tell the story because early on when business went well and, the first company, the first company I built we sold it and I was still 20 something, and we sold a business for millions of dollars. And there was a time where I sort of felt guilty, right? Because it came, I don't want this to sound wrong, but the business part came relatively easily for me. Most people were spending their whole lives trying to get success, and I was 20 something and we'd already achieved that. So I was feeling kind of a little bit guilty about that, and guilty about, making money or success early on, until I discovered what we just talked about. That you've heard me say this before, that women's shelter, when the woman was on the news, I did that whole thing anonymously. And so they were talking to this woman and they said, what happened? And she said, some man just paid all our bills and took care of the house and everything. And she said, it was a miracle. Well, I was sitting home watching TV. They didn't know who it was. And I was like, it wasn't a miracle at all. I'm just a hard worker. Because I work hard and run good business, I was able to help those women. So I wrote down on my wall, your success is someone else's miracle, right? Because I never made that connection. And that changed me starting to think there's no shame in life in making money. The shame is in not using it to help others. However, there's a fundamental truth. If we don't run a profitable business, I can't pay for that house for those women. So the truth is, whether I like it or not, money solves some of the problems in the world. And so that's when I made that connection where the more, let's go back to work. right? The more profitable businesses all of the GoBundance women build, the more lives it can change, right? So that matters. So that's why I've been focused for all these years on helping people, and that's why I come to your events with you guys. We want more people. We want more of the women in your organization to build really successful, profitable businesses, because then we know they'll take some of their profits and they'll go make differences in other people's lives. So that's the importance of profitability. If you scale your profits, you can scale your help to people. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of the pieces per your question that are critical to scale. And to be honest, I didn't know any of this stuff going forward. It's reverse engineering it later in life, right? Later in life, looking back, because people would ask, like I said, Priceline.com and Booking.com and Ubid, all these startups were little startups that became whatever, multi-billion-dollar companies. And later people would ask, how did you guys do that? And so I went back and reverse engineered. We obviously, something we did worked. What was it? So going back and reverse engineering it, there are clearly some things that you have to get right. Now I know that. I wouldn't have known that before we did it. But now that we proved it and it worked. So the first one is the fact that I get CEOs and founders and business owners that tell me, Jeff, I'm working harder than I ever have before, and I'm working longer than I ever have before, but I'm not growing faster, my business. And the reason is because you're in the way. You can't scale until you can let go. Quit. So my first piece of advice is the key to success is surrounding yourself with people smarter than you and getting out of their way, not working harder and longer, work less and spend more time. And it was the realization that real leaders don't create followers. They create other leaders, right? That's your job. Stop running the company all the time and start dedicating a portion of your time to finding rock star people and teaching them how to rise past you. I have always had people in my company, people would ask me a question and I'd say, I don't know, ask Angela. Angela's a real person who worked for me for four different companies. And they would say, well, okay, but you're the CEO. And I said, I'm the guy that hired Angela. And they're like, but you don't know the answer? I said, are you kidding me? Angela's 10 times smarter than me. And this is her field, not mine. So go ask Angela. And I'll get criticized. You own the company, but you can't explain all the things that are going on. I said, nope, I absolutely cannot. I trust Angela completely. She's way smarter than me and she's crushing it. If you have a question about her department, go ask Angela. We didn't scale until I started spending time finding people way smarter than me and helping them become better leaders and then just getting out of the way. So that's the first thing is not about you, and quit making it about you. Start looking for a rock star team, hand them things and trust them. And people sometimes tell me, well, it's hard to trust people I have. And you know what my answer is? Then get other people. Go find someone you trust. And you know what their answer to that is? Well, it's really hard. And I have an answer for that too. Guess what else is really hard? Winning, right? If you want to win and come out on top, you're going to have to work harder than other people. Winning is hard. Being successful is hard. You're right, it's hard. So quit complaining about it and go do it. Spend time to find these rock stars, make them better leaders, get out of their way. And when you're not the bottleneck anymore, your company takes off. So that's the first one. It's all about the strength of your team, and it's your job to build, mentor, and nurture that team, not just to run the business. I would say another one, we'll just do a couple for now. Another key to growth is to stop trying to be all things to all people. I can't tell you the amount of times I hear the one-stop shop. We're going to solve all of our customers' problems. If you go look at and by the way, that includes products and services too. Stop trying to do everything to achieve. We're talking about the question you asked, Kelly. How do I achieve growth? Later in life, you can do that. So I'm going to tell you quickly, I learned that talking way back in the early days to Bezos. Because I said, ask Jeff. People forget that for almost 7 years, you could only buy a book from him. And you know what he told me? He said, one day when I'm big, Amazon will be the marketplace of everything. But he said, right now, I just want to be the best darn bookseller on the planet. And we took that to heart. We were trying to sell vacations and cruises. And we were like, we got to be the best darn something, which is the thing. And everybody listening, ask yourself this. If you have multiple products in the early stages or multiple businesses, I hear that advice, multiple income streams of revenue and income stream. If you want to live a nice, comfortable life, go for it. That's what you'll get. But if you're trying to scale and turn a company, if you're not, don't listen to what I'm saying. But the people that said, how did you create multi-billion-dollar companies? It's because we listened to that lesson. We stopped selling vacations and cruises, and we said, what's the thing we know we can crush? For us, it was hotels. For Bezos, it was books. For my friend Tony Hsieh, unfortunately, God rest his soul, it was shoes. His company was Zappos. So all these people that scaled said, I'm going to be the best darn something. And it was one product, one service, one company. Nobody that achieved that giant success did that by running 4 businesses or having one business that had 6 different products. I call that your gold medal product.
Yep.
Pick the product that is your gold medal, the one thing you know you can crush, and ride that to growth later, right? So for almost 7 years, you could only buy a book from Amazon. You could only buy shoes from Zappos. They didn't add handbags, earrings, just like Amazon. And in our case, we never even had to add anything else, right? The company is the world's largest seller of hotel rooms. It sells $20 billion a year worth of product and only has one product. You don't need to solve everybody's problem and be the one-stop shop. We don't do that. We can't help you with your cruise. We can just get you a hotel room and get out of your way.
Yeah.
Focus is so key.
On your gold medal.
Absolutely. I think that's incredible advice, Jeff. Thank you for that. You're breathing life directly in my direction as you say that. So thank you. When you're an entrepreneur, you're signing up to solve problems, right? And inevitably, you're going to end up getting stuck. So if you end up getting stuck with a problem, while scaling or doing anything in business, what are some actionable things that you do to get yourself unstuck?
Mandy, that's a great question. 2 parts of that. The first one is that's the importance of mentors. And not only having mentors to reach out to that are not lost deep in the woods of your business every day, so they have a fresh perspective, right? Because in order to understand the problem, they ask you a whole series of questions to make sure they understand, and they have a fresh perspective. So having mentors, which is why a lot of companies have a board. Why do you have a board of advisors? Because they don't work there. And they'll give you a perspective you don't have because you're too deep in the problem, right? It's that old, you can't see the forest for the trees. So you need to talk to people who aren't sitting next to you at work deep in the forest with you. So mentors and board is part of that. But there's a different side more for me personally that I'm glad you asked, because people, I posted about this on social media because there's people out there that are telling you that about grind, right? And there was one time, one particular pretty popular influencer posted, if you're not up at 4:30 a.m. every day and going to bed at 1, right, you're just not trying hard enough. I replied how amazingly stupid that is. When you are tired and burned out and not getting enough sleep and not eating well and don't have a balanced life and have relationship problems bothering you because you're always at work, guess what you don't do? You don't perform at peak level. So you need to be taking care of you. Physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, lots of other things, so that it's not important to work 20 hours a day like that guy said. It's important that in 4 hours, your contribution, your output is so sharp and so strong. My goal was to figure out how to do in 2 days what it took everyone else the whole week to do. My goal was not to grind at 4:30 every day. I'd like to be done at 2:30 every day if I could, right? Because I built a company that's so well designed that I don't have to work like that anymore. So I don't dig deep into that grind. I do things. Sometimes people was asking me. Someone was asking me about business books. I read more fiction than I do business books. I go watch a movie When I'm stuck in a problem, Mandy, and my head is blurry and I can't think about it anymore, I break away. You might go outside, ride your bike, right? Go to the gym, go watch a movie, read a book, do something completely not business that gives your brain a chance to refresh, recharge. Then when you walk back in, you're like, whoa, how did I not see this before? And the answer is because you were so heads down that you just couldn't see around you anymore. So that's my other answer. I read fiction because it stirs my imagination and my creativity. When I get back to work, I'm not burned out. I'm refreshed and I got new ideas spinning around in my head, right? That's what fresh air and a little exercise outside. And I walk back in, I was like, all right, man, now I'm ready to go. Grinding endlessly when you're stuck on a problem is not the solution. Break away, refresh yourself, fill your mind and your soul with fresh air and creative ideas, then go back to work.
That's amazing. Well, Jeff, we could seriously stay here all day and literally just extract everything. I actually just watched the movie Lucy yesterday. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, yep.
I feel like that's what I want to do with Jeff's brain. Literally just take everything out of it because for the people listening, you have no idea the impact that he's made in hundreds of countries across the world and inspiring entrepreneurship and whatnot. And so, there's so many lessons that you taught us today, and have really shared. The biggest one for me are just really that you do need to surround yourself with the right people in order to be able to create that life that you really desire, which you've proven is possible, which is amazing. So thank you for that. I do want to make sure, and I know, Mandy, you'll probably give us a few things, but for anyone that wants to help support the mission that you have in Africa right now, what's the best way for them to find the charity? Because I've done the due diligence. I see the impact that he's making there. And I do truly believe some of these kids coming out are going to be world leaders at some point. So it's important to contribute.
We work with kids all across the U.S. as well. The organization is called World Youth Horizons.
Okay.
If you want to volunteer or donate, every dollar counts. It's worldyouthhorizons.com. And the simple mission, that's the most important thing I do. The simple mission is to make sure that children in the world, including in the U.S., that don't have a chance at a better life, get their best chance. Somewhere there is some little girl living in a horrible situation, and all the messaging is, there's no hope for you. There's no messaging that says she could be the one curing cancer or the president of her country someday. That's not what she's hearing. She's hearing, you were born into this and it's too bad. That girl needs to be found. She needs to be encouraged, right? We need to pay for the education, and we need to unleash her to go achieve her fullest potential. That's what we do for children around the world. We make sure they are given a chance to become what they were destined to become and not prevent that from their situation. So if you want to help, it's worldyouthhorizons.com. I will say one other thing. If people donate, one thing that's distinguishing about us is 100% of every dollar goes directly to children. I pay everything else. So you're not paying. All the staff is volunteer. All the expenses are covered by me. And I'll add one more thing. You are more than welcome to go visit the children that you are funding, which that's the reason I started my own foundation, is because when I would donate to other things, I didn't have that visibility. And I had somebody call me yesterday that her and her daughter made a donation, and we're going to do a video call with a bunch of young girls. These ones are in Africa, and her daughter, they're going to talk to kids in her class so they can literally talk to the people whose lives they're changing. So if anybody wants to help, we're eternally thankful.
The wisdom, the kindness, the heart, Jeff, you are just an incredible human. I mean, so many things you said today hit me really hard. Specifically, your success is someone else's miracle. That makes me want to double down on business success so that I can go bless more lives. Thank you so much for that. We will make sure that we put everything in the show notes so that if you want to give back to Jeff and the wisdom that he has given you, please make sure that you are going and donating to support these kids in Africa. Jeff, thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Kelly, Mandy,
Yes.
thank you guys so much for having
You were
me.
the best. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank you.
Jeff.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
If this
Thanks for joining the
episode
Power Up Your Life
See you
podcast.
soon.